Malika Andrews, my colleague, who everybody saw I got into an issue with on First Take months ago, and I had to check that situation. She getting crucified during leading into the draft because she's asking Brandon Miller a question or bringing up somebody's past. She had an obligation to ask those questions. She did her job. If she doesn't do her job, she's off the air. They're like, what we need you for?
Oh man, so Stephen A. Smith is supporting Malika Andrews because she getting smoked for bringing up some bad situations in the past of black men, either athletes or coaches, when they should be celebrating huge accomplishments. So basically, Stephen A. is putting this all on Disney. He's saying Disney is telling these folks, or ESPN to be more specifically, is telling these folks, you need to bring these things up for them. So now, this brings up even more of a question about certain things, but let's peep him have this discussion on podcast P. That's Paul George's podcast. Let's check this out, man. Smash the like button for the vibes. Let's get it to at least 100 likes, man. Let me know what y'all think about Stephen A. supporting Malika Andrews, and do you understand where he's coming from? Let's peep.
Stop falling for the same old stuff that most of these athletes fall for when they say the media, the media, the media. No. If you're going to be in the media doing a podcast and everything else, you have an obligation to dissect specifically who you support and who you're against. Mm-hmm. Who you think favors you, who you think don't. It can't be, it's just the media. You know what I'm saying? It can't be that. Because when you do that, then you castigating everybody. And that's like a cat in the NBA. All right, this cat got arrested for drunken driving. All right, this cat had a domestic violence issue. All right, this cat is arrested for assault. And white media, like in years past, not necessarily now, but definitely in years past, you see these NBA players?
Right.
No, it was three of them.
Categorize everybody.
It was three of them.
Yeah.
It was three of them.
But I feel in our perspective, right? This is our work. This is our livelihood. This is our job.
Yep.
And I felt this way for part of my career.
Sure.
Of like, damn, I'm off the media too.
Yep.
I don't want to talk to this person.
Yep.
I don't want to talk to that person. Leave me alone. Right? They beat me up enough. They've said this thing about me. Granted, like, I'm trying the best that I can. Sometimes I come up short. That's cool. I got to live with that.
Right.
That's not for you to dissect and tell me I should have did this. I know what I got to do. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Right.
So when it comes to that, it comes to a point of like, at that point, I'm going to just remove myself.
Gotcha.
And I'm going to take myself away from talking to the media.
Right.
Because regardless what I say, it's going to come out the wrong way anyways.
Right.
Whatever point I'm trying to make, they're going to take that and run with it.
Well, I got it.
And so that's what brought me to the conclusion of doing my podcast.
Right.
Because now I can express how I feel. I can say what I want. And I know it's coming straight from the mouth of me. I don't got to worry about clickbait. I had this conversation with this personnel, and this is the part that he wanted to put in his story. It's coming from me now. It's my story.
That's cool. And you're right to do that. You're not wrong. Right? So anybody that tells you you're wrong is wrong. But there's a flip side to it that you might not have considered. Did you know that if a reporter walks up, let's say, for example, Paul George is, yo, man, I think I'm worth $50 million. I want this contract. And then you struggling. Do you know that if that reporter goes up to you and doesn't ask you about that, the editor's like, come here. Why do I have you on the beat? You going home. You got to understand that everybody has a job to do. A lot of times, particularly if it's a beat writer and it's somebody that's in that locker room after every game and is talking, is cultivating a relationship with you, they know you, so the last thing they want to do is come up to you and ask you that question. They have no choice because their job is on the line. And no matter how bad your game was that day, your contract guaranteed. And it's for a gazillion times more than that journalist made. You know, you got cats that, and they're going to remain nameless as players, because I'm not going to do that to them. But when I went hard on a couple of superstar players, I happen to know for a fact they tried to get a couple of journalists fired. And it's because the journalists asked them about something that they were hearing. And they brought up the brother. But when Woj reported it, or Shams reported it, you ain't say shit. Now see, that's when Stephen A, now that Bronx, that Queens dude comes out. Oh, so we gonna call a brother out making 75, 85, maybe 100,000 that they can wipe off the map in a heartbeat, and you fucking know it.
Damn.
And you would do that to him.
Stephen A cursing.
But the white dude, Woj, Shams, whatever, and I work, Woj and I have a good relationship, respect the hell out of him. He's the ultimate insider, stuff like that. Shams does a great job as well. I'm not throwing no shade on them. Right. I'm saying, I'm watching the athlete. You said nothing. You said nothing. And that's when you see me, you like, what's wrong with Stephen A? Why he coming like that? What's going on? Because I'm pissed. Because I know intel and I know what you're doing. And I know how you tried to do it. You sit up there one time and it's like KD talk about people don't know what they talk about. And I love KD. That's my dog. I love him to death. But he was talking about people don't know what the hell they talk about when they were talking about him wanting to leave OKC. And you going off. Mm-hmm. But then you left. You left. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? They weren't lying. They weren't lying. You know, I mean, it's like you see cats and it's like, yo, you making tens of millions per. You getting mad and trying to end the careers of cats, because if they get fired, how many brothers gonna get fired? You working at Yahoo Sports, you working at ESPN, you working at some other network, and you get bounced out. How many brothers you can look at and say, yo, you gonna have another job tomorrow?
So basically with Stephen A, what I'm getting from what you're saying is, it's still the media's fault, because you're just saying to keep it light on the reporters, especially the black reporters, but it's still the media fault because the people that's holding them accountable, that's giving them the obligations, is their bosses who works for the media companies. So it's still the media's fault, but you, once again, you want them to not take it out on the people that choose to do those jobs as reporters and journalists and stuff. It sucks that we're in this day and age competing with just a person on Twitter that's stalking someone's social media, or stalking their podcast, or stalking the Instagram live, that could just immediately get a story up, the report on some shit. It's killing a lot of these publications. So they have to get more spicier stories, and since they have access to the athletes, they ask them some nasty questions.
It ain't like that. And it doesn't ever cross their mind. And so for me, I understand what you're saying, but I would use Roy Williams, a former basketball coach in North Carolina. He was at Kansas. They lose the national title game. Okay. And the reporter has to ask him, are you going to leave Kansas City? Kansas, is this your last game? Are you going to North Carolina? Now, who the hell don't know? That's the worst. That's the absolute last question he wants. He just lost the national title. He got kids in the locker room crying. Nobody wants to do that. That reporter had no choice, because the producers in her ear and the bosses are back in the studio. You better ask this question. And by the way, it's not subliminal. They literally have an IFB in their ear, and they're telling them, ask the question. Ask the question. The difference between me and most, I have the power to take the IFB out. Shut the hell up. I ain't asking that. This is what I'm going to ask. But even I have a tenets of journalism that I have to ask. If you sat up there and just got arrested last night and you come on my show today, I got an obligation to ask you what happened. Look at Hugh Grant. He got caught cheating on his wife years ago. He went on a late night show. It was comedy. And Jay Leno opened the interview. What the hell were you thinking? And the whole crowd burst into laughter. That was his way of having to address what needed to be addressed, because it comes along with the tenets of journalism, which you as athletes don't necessarily have. That doesn't make you wrong. That doesn't disqualify you from having a podcast or anything like that. But understand your role is different. Malika Andrews, my colleague, who everybody saw I got into an issue with on First Take months ago, and I had to check that situation. She getting crucified leading into the draft because she's asking Brandon Miller a question or bringing up somebody's past. She had an obligation to ask those questions. She did her job. If she doesn't do her job, she's off the air. They're like, what we need you for? And so when you see athletes and you recognize the fact that you have enough access to us if you don't know to find that out. Wouldn't it be nice if you just asked? Because we'll tell you.
Yeah.
We'll tell you.
All right, so that's Stephen A. Smith supporting Malika Andrews and giving insights to why supporters ask some nasty questions that you don't like. Once again, as I reiterate my point, it's still the media fault, but since you're in a position as a reporter or a journalist or, a talking head, you want people to have more understanding, especially for black people that are in the positions that, they're just doing their jobs. But once again, it's still the media fault because the media wants these questions to be asked. They want to cover it from these angles. Now, I do still find it distasteful if someone's celebrating a moment that you don't have to bring up something that was months old, like the situation with Brandon Miller.
His name did surface in court testimony involving a case where his former teammate and another man, they've been indicted for capital murder in the fatal shooting of 23-year-old Jamia Harris in January.
The situation with Joe Mazzulla receiving the head coach nod.
We'd be remiss not to also mention that Mazzulla was arrested twice at West Virginia, once in 2008 for underage drinking and aggravated assault. He pled guilty, paid a fine, and then again in 2009 for domestic battery after an incident at Morgantown Bar. The domestic battery case never went to trial. It was settled in August of 2009. He paid a $100 fine and court costs, plus had to do 40 hours of community service. Now, that was 13 years ago. He settled and paid both fines. So, Woj, why are the Celtics choosing him as their next head coach?
So, okay, you don't want us to be upset with Malika Andrews, but we're going to still be upset with the media, her bosses that's asking her to ask the question. And she accepted that position as a black woman, and she understands how dirty it's going to get. Okay, now people could think twice, but after that second thought, they still may want to go ahead and say, you put yourself in that position, you know it's dirty, you know it's nasty, and you want that position, you want to grow from it, so live with the repercussions of your job. You feel me? Sometimes when you have a job as a boss, sometimes you have the tough decision to fire people when they don't perform well, and you got to take food out of their families' mouths. You feel me? But you decide to take that job and you understand what comes with it. So it is what it is. Yes, maybe people would think twice before ridiculing Malika Andrews. Let me know what y'all think. Are y'all gonna think twice or it's still up there for us? Let me know. I'm out.